Welcome to a weekly episode of MM Talk. We're your host, Eddie Marmolejo.
And Jaime Moreno.
In this episode, we're going to talk about coronavirus. We're not going to dive into the nitty and gritty of how you get it, how you contract it. We're going to have this discussion in context. And what I mean by that is, I believe, and we're going to get to it, the media has really exacerbated the understanding of what we're facing. Because you cannot even answer me this question. How did we get to where we are? Why are states
Why
not
are we
being,
locked down?
Why are we locked down? Yeah.
Why the hell are we locked down?
So we need to address that, and I believe by looking at the time frame and looking at what reactions and responses have been, it gives you a more clear context as to what we're dealing with, why are we dealing with it, and how can we move on from it. Okay, so with all that,
in other words, are we gonna die tomorrow? I think that's the biggest discussion we have. Are we gonna die tomorrow?
I don't know. Governor Cuomo is probably a possibility. I don't know.
God, well, Governor Cuomo just said, I don't have enough ventilators, so might as well just. Everyone's gonna die. I'm gonna pick and choose between family members and stuff. God dang. Anyways, well, before we continue this conversation, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Give us some time on Twitter. Just still like us and follow us. We'll put some content on Twitter. It is a new platform for us, so bear with us as we try to understand the tweet. I know that the president of the United States is good at it. He's an expert on it. Tweets a lot. So, anyways, coronavirus.
Yeah.
Right now, you're at home, probably in your PJs or gym clothes, or if you live alone, probably in your underwear. Or you're with family, you're with your loved one, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend. You're probably with, people are out there just at home, okay? Unless they're workers, right?
Yeah.
Unless they go to work. Some people are probably home, you're resting. Some people are essential.
Yeah.
You're probably thinking, how the heck did we get here in the first place? How did we end up in lockdown?
Yeah.
Right? And it happened so quick.
Yeah.
I think it happened so quick.
Yeah,
literally.
Well, you're blank January... And we're in March and we're only in March. Wow,
we're on week 1 on lockdown for the state of California.
Is it week 1?
Yeah, we're barely on 1 week. Because on the 19th we were on lockdown.
Oh, that's right.
Last week.
5. Yeah, you're right.
We're 1 week into lockdown.
It seems like it's been forever though. You're right.
Dang, and we still got 2 more weeks to go. Oh, as Governor
Newsom said 12 weeks.
Gosh.
The man really wants right in the streets. Anyways, so
pretty much we're on lockdown. So the question is, how did we get here in the first place, right?
Right.
So to understand this, we need to give a timeline history of what happened, right? So I'm going to quickly explain the timeline that happened. And to be fair and transparent and honest, it all started in Wuhan, China. Mm-hmm. The first case or the first report, we don't know if it was one person or various people. We don't know. But as far as we understand it, in December 1st of 2019, and we went through a bunch of articles. In order to get the timeline right, we had to dig. And a lot of the articles were vague. They're like, well, it started in January. We heard about it, this, that. And they would go blaming the blame game. The blame game. We had to do digging. We found out that in December 1st of 2019, it started in Wuhan, China. We don't know how many people were affected. They don't give no numbers. They don't give how many cases, how many people might have had it. They just knew that there was a SARS-like virus. Mm-hmm. And it's not SARS, but it's like it.
It's like a SARS virus.
We don't know much of it, but we got to figure out what it is, right? So, okay, they're like, all right, so this is going on, so we'll figure it out. Late December, later that month, when scientists started reporting this to the government, right, to the bureaucracy in the government, pretty much the government said, stop testing. Stop laboratory testing. Stop trying to figure out what this is. Just stop it. The reason, we don't know the reasons. We just know that the government said stop it.
Yeah.
Stop. Okay, so on January 3rd, all right, so late December, government says stop it. January 3rd, the National Chinese Health Commission, which is like the top, pretty much the Department of Health, right? Like the top,
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
committee in China in regards to health, made a gag order to not release any information about this. So the scientists who were treating these patients, right, and figuring out what's going on and trying to figure out what kind of SARS virus this is, its feel, its look, it's the way it works, they were told don't release the information. Don't release it. And then on January 8th, the Chinese Center for Disease Control sends a team out to Wuhan, China, right? They send a team out, the experts, let's figure out what's going on here. Right now it's supposed to be contained. Right now only the patients have the disease, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. When they get there, they realize that the doctors who were treating them got the disease or got this virus, got infected by this new virus. So they're like, okay, now it's able to
go from human to human.
Contaminate, right?
Yeah.
So at first it was just thought to be just initial contamination from food or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Now it's human to human
transmission.
Yeah. Contamination. That's the word I was looking for. January 20th, the respiratory health expert, the doctor who was researching this and trying to put a warning out, tried to announce what was going on, and that was shut off. They literally told him, recant what you're saying, deny the allegations, deny this is going on, and that's it, and that you're wrong. The Chinese government literally told the doctor to deny everything. Okay, the Chinese government did that. Okay, they try to contain it. They try to put it down. We know in social media we saw videos, we saw some clips of what's going on. We're like, what the hell's going on over there? Some Chinese thing, whatever. We didn't take it a threat because it was contained, right? It was over there. The World Health Organization attempts to find out something, right? Like, hey, what's going on in your country? They don't get the answers they need. They don't get the details. They don't really share information. WHO just takes the word for it that they have it under control. China says we have it under control. WHO, the World Health Organization, says, okay, then, all right, it's under control. We'll leave it as is. It's not until January 23rd, 2 months later, from the first case. December 1st.
December 1st, January 23rd. It's a month.
So 3 weeks later.
Yeah, around
3 weeks. Right? For me, it's like, what's 3 days from the month?
Yeah.
What's 7 days from the end of the month? Nothing.
I'm saying just a month later.
3 weeks. Let's do it by weeks then. 3 weeks later, they come out public. China comes out and says, you know what? We have this new virus. It's a SARS-like virus. We don't know what's going on. We don't know how to contain it. And sorry, but we did not close down Wuhan. We did not stop people who might have been affected. We did not contain this. And it's now out in the world.
Right.
All right. So, this whole time for 3 weeks, okay, no, 4 weeks, 7 weeks, right? So you have a month, 4 weeks, and then 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, December 1st, you're right.
Yeah. So 2 weeks. You're talking about
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
6, 7 weeks.
6, 7 weeks. Yeah. 7 weeks.
7 weeks, right?
7 weeks, yeah.
Okay. 7 weeks. 7 weeks. Then after 7 weeks of trying to contain this, hush it down, don't say nothing, keep it a secret. This doesn't exist. This virus is non-existent. We can handle this. It'll go away. Could not be contained. So it's pretty much like if you were a kid or you've seen those kid videos, right, on YouTube or on Instagram or on Facebook, right, where they put bubbles in the bathtub and then like it grows and grows and it just grows and grows and grows and grows, right? And everyone laughs, Pretty much that's what happened in China. Right, so they try to contain it, and it grew, and now it's lost control.
Yeah.
So by the time they report this,
and they really try to contain it, it's already out. Yeah.
It's already out.
Yeah.
People already left. Yeah. People already traveled back and forth.
Yeah.
They literally allowed them to have their Lunar New Year.
Yeah.
Millions of people came to the city. Millions of people left the city. Okay, for the celebration. So we don't, and right now we don't know who has it. People say you might have it, not feel the symptoms, and so on and so forth. It went in and it came back. That's the timeline. So right now, Eddie, seeing this timeline, understand this timeline that took so hard to get because China is trying to keep this a secret.
Yeah, it's really it was really hard to get, and the way we got is because we came across this article in the was it the Sunday, what do they call it here, the Sunday
Times in UK.
the Times in UK, their Sunday edition, right, in which they quote Kayaxin Global, which is an independent publication, and
In China.
And it's independent and it's really trustworthy. And then this is where they lay out everything. This is like lay it out.
And just a side note, you have to understand that China is a communist country,
Yeah,
right? You have to understand China
no
is
free
communist.
press.
Yes.
No free press. No freedom of speech. Total media blackout for 7 weeks.
The government tells you what you can publish and
Yeah,
can't publish.
pretty much. Yeah.
So out of I think there's 8 publications in China. Was it 6 publications?
I would have to relook that, but I'll
There's
trust
some
it.
publications out there,
Yeah.
and I think like this publication. What'd you call it again? What did it mean?
Kayaxin Global.
It's one of the many who are independent because they're not. The owners of that publication are not Chinese, in a way,
Yeah.
right? So they were able to report this, even though the entire media networks in China were giving what the government is saying. Right? We're reporting what the government wanted.
Pretty
to
much.
report.
Yeah.
You know, called propaganda.
Anywho, where we at?
So that's the timeline. So pretty
Yeah.
much, if China sat on this.
Yeah.
You know, China
7
sat
weeks.
on this for 6 weeks.
Well, it didn't sound. They try to contain it and hide it from the world for 7 weeks. Not depend on anybody for 7 weeks. Not seek partnerships for 7 weeks. And in the meantime, people are are coming in and out. And not until January 23rd, they say, well, we have an issue. We just put Wuhan on lockdown. And hopefully this contains it. Yeah, okay, that's 7 weeks. After. Key point, 7 weeks.
You decide to lock down and say after 7 weeks. So what we're trying to say is that now we have the spread, and that explains why the pandemic, pretty much in Cardi B's language, is on world tour.
You just quoted Cardi B on the show. My goodness.
And I know everyone's seen that video of
Yeah,
Cardi
yeah.
B about the coronavirus. Coronavirus. But if you pay attention to what she's saying on her explanation of coronavirus, she's like, it started in Wuhan, China, and now it's on world tour.
Yeah. Anyways.
So, Eddie, can we blame this on the Chinese government?
Absolutely. They're the ones to blame, period. And the Chinese government. I'm glad you pointed that out because we can't blame the Chinese. We'll get that to what I mean in a minute. But this is definitely 100% the fault of President Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party. You're going to say, oh, why? Why do you come to that conclusion? All the evidence points to it. The gagging orders, the cover-ups, the censoring of information, the disappearance of doctors, right? The disappearance of whistleblowers, all that. That all points to the Chinese Communist government. Why? Because they can't be seen as weak. The Chinese Communist Party cannot be seen as weak. They cannot lose any power, right? And furthermore, they're an authoritative government. So whatever, like you said, whatever they say goes. And honestly, they don't care about the people. If we say we're gonna try to lock it down, we're gonna try to lock it down whatever way we want.
Yeah, and there's some reports, people on the ground that were saying that there was even Chinese police people locking people into their apartments to like literally don't go outside.
Yeah. So the response from the Chinese Communist Party, which has had epidemic like SARS before, which has had, and this is according also to articles where they point out how the WHO in partnership with China has been really, really one that you can't trust, and where I see also you have to hold the World Health Organization accountable as well, because they're taking things at face value, right? So Chinese only providing certain information that's the WHO said, okay, I guess we can't really blame this on your government. I guess it just happened.
And not only that, they didn't press on them.
And they didn't press.
They didn't press. And
they
that's,
didn't press.
that's the I think that's like, okay, if it was the United States,
Right.
who would be pressing the United
Right.
States like crazy, right? If it was Mexico, they would have been pressing Mexico like
Right.
crazy. If it was the UK, they would have done the same thing. But when it came to China, well, and they told us that we'll trust them.
Yeah.
When no one trusts China. At least the government. No one
government,
trusts
yeah,
the government of
the
China.
government of
I mean, South Korea doesn't trust the government of China.
No.
Taiwan doesn't trust the
Well,
government.
of course, Taiwan's not going to trust the government in China.
Hong Kong doesn't trust it.
Yeah, well, that's another one.
Yeah.
but it all comes to the actions taken by the Chinese Communist Party. The blackouts, this information. Just imagine, Jaime, 7 weeks of blackout. What could you have done in 7 weeks?
You could have prepared for this. The world could have prepared for it.
Yeah.
They would have tried to get information from the medics. Okay, how does this work? How does this spread? What does it do? What are the symptoms? What are we looking at? You know,
what kind of roadmap can we generate to see if this can reach our shores or reach our country, or if you're a neighbor, or we have to close the border with you? Like, what do we get? 7 weeks. 7 weeks, right? I understand for maybe the first week you still need to develop to see what's going on. 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's very important. But this is what an authoritative government does. It will black you out. Because now when the news organizations were getting a hint and all this and all that, they're starting to report it. What does China do? Vámonos.
Get the hell out of
Get out of our country, right? A lot of the news organizations, international news organizations that were starting to blame the Chinese, that were starting to blame the Chinese government, the Chinese
and question them,
question the Chinese government. Vámonos. So yes, 100%, China's government is to blame for all this that's going on, for allowing, but also you need to put blame on the World Health Organization for not, even though right now it's praising President Trump, I get it, but you, as the International Health Organization, had the responsibility of pressing China to be more transparent. And as we're going to get into in a couple seconds, you're going to find out that the main reason of all that was politics.
And that moves on to our next topic then.
Yeah.
Trump has received a lot of... Well, you know what? Trump is a racist. Trump is a racist.
Get out of here.
Okay, the media tells you that Trump is racist.
Right.
Everyone in the Trump administration is racist. Anyone who works for Trump is racist. Anyone who likes Trump is racist. Anyone who voted for Trump is racist. We're all racist.
Right.
Okay? Why? Because he keeps calling it the Chinese virus.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's been a controversy, right? The news media obviously has said this. It got to so far that one of the reporters, I think it's from, hold on, let me look over. I forgot her name. I don't want to mess up her name. She is Asian American. Was said that a person within the administration told her it's the Kung flu
virus. Yeah, so
Kung flu virus. Okay. So far, she has not told anyone who this person is.
Yeah.
Who this White House official is. Miss
Kellyanne Conway. So
Conway
confronted her about it.
Confronted about it. Said, "Tell me who said that.
Right.
Let me know who said that, for we can address it."
Right.
She even said, "I'm married to an Asian man," which is not, the token Asian man. She's just saying that it's not only hurtful for her. It's hurtful for her
family
husband and for her children, right? But no one has come out to say it, right? No one has come out and say that's the guy. Eddie's the one who said Kung flu. He's the one who said it.
Come at me, bro.
See, he said Kung flu. There he is. And his reporter hasn't come out. Are we saying that we shouldn't believe her? No. Are we saying that we should doubt her reporting? No. But we do press on her to come out and tell us who told her the Kung flu virus, who made that comment to her, right? In the Me Too.
Okay, so you have to question it. You have to say you have to question it. Yeah. We're not saying she's a bad reporter, but in this case, you're doing bad reporting, and you need to question that.
If you're telling the truth, just come out and say it.
So
okay, so she's a reporter for.
What's her name? Okay, so
it's her last name is Jiang. Jiang. She's a CBS News reporter, and she says that official called the novel coronavirus the Kung flu virus to her face.
So, okay.
And that's it. That's all we know. So, now we have the controversy of racial profiling. Now we have the controversy of xenophobia. Now we have the controversy of attacks and attacks to Asian Americans because Trump calls it the Chinese virus. This reporter says that some of the administration called it the Kung flu virus. Now this whole thing about naming the virus is racist.
Headline news.
Yeah.
So
now, is President Trump racist?
No.
But it's racist because
No.
it's calling it a Chinese virus.
No.
It's saying that Chinese
No.
people have the virus.
No. Because simply look at the history of diseases. They're named to a point of origin. Zika, Uganda, I was gonna say rainforest.
The forest.
Well, forest, right? The
Zika
jungle,
forest.
Zika forest, jungle, whatever you want to call it, right? The Spanish flu, it said it came from Spain, right? So it was the big epicenter was Spain. So boom, there, done. What is it? Zika, MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, Middle East. There you go, right? So now we have COVID-19, which is China. Okay, so there's nothing, and the president over and over repeated. I'm not talking about the Chinese. I'm not talking about anything from China, from Chinese people. I'm saying it comes from China. Okay, that's what it is. There's no racism in that. Had it come from Mexico, as a Latino, I wouldn't have minded if the president calls it the Mexican virus, because it comes from Mexico. It originated in Mexico.
But don't you think that kind of language kind of tells people, hey, Chinese people have it?
No,
Mexicans have it because it's Mexican virus.
That's an asinine correlation. Just because and like look, you can't fix stupid sometimes. Okay, I'm sorry to say, you just can't fix stupid. But that's what the media is trying to portray. Oh, you're causing xenophobia because even the Chinese government is part of what the Chinese government is even saying now. You can't call it Chinese virus. I mean, you're affecting our people. No, bro, we're trying to look. Come on now, come on. What is this crap? It came within your country. It came from Wuhan. Okay, I don't know what province, the province that is on the top of my head, but it came from the city of Wuhan. Wuhan is in your country. Your country is named China. Okay, do we need to break this down even further? I mean, it's not
pretty
racist.
much because the media is playing this.
Well, the media, of course.
The media, and not only the media. Now you have Asian American leaders, Asian American politicians, Asian American personalities.
Yeah, but that's because of the
coming
media
again
hype.
saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is racist and xenophobic." Right, because it's calling it a Chinese virus.
Yeah, but
and it's making people think that Chinese people have it.
I can't look, if you're gonna go with that mindset, so be it. But I'm going to the original context of where the president is saying why is it called Chinese. If the media wants to manipulate like they did in Charlottesville, right? Mm-hmm. They said there were good people on both sides. We all know what the outcome of that was, right? This is another attempt of that. This is why he went so far as calling it look, it's a new hoax, and all that stuff, right?
So how did Trump address it then when they were challenged that?
He said it came from China. What else do you want me to say? It comes from China. Like, it's a stupid. Like, you had that. There was this reporter from One American News who said, "Mr. President, question. Is it racist to call Chinese to say that? Is it racist to say Chinese food now? What about Mexican food and all these other foods, right?" And he's like, "No, I don't think it's racist." But and everybody, and if you look at the media, they only reported that part. And she said, like, this is the stupidest question ever asked in the history of journalism. Here's the next part, real quick. She then asked, yeah, well, we asked because a lot of media outlets, and you see all the reporters turning back at her, right? Say that you calling the Chinese virus is racist. It's like, no, it's not racist because, again, it goes back to a country of origin. That's what I'm doing. It doesn't affect the and he said, I'm not disrespecting Chinese people. I'm respecting Chinese Americans, Chinese people, anybody. I'm pointing to where it came from.
And this is also, I think this is also a tactic from the president to combat the Chinese government's propaganda to say the American government did it.
Yeah, because that was another allegation.
The U.S. military conspiracy theory planted the virus. They put it there and they made it spread, and now they're trying to blame it on them. Yeah. And that's the propaganda of the Chinese government too. So it's not racist because it comes from China. Yeah. It literally comes from China.
It does.
And it's also a response to the allegation and the false narrative from China
that we gave them the virus.
Yes.
And which is not true.
And that's interesting. And I think that's true. Chinese food isn't considered racist. Mexican food isn't considered racist. Mexican flag, Mexican nachos, Mexican this, Mexican that is not considered racist. But like you said, you can't find stupid.
You can't find stupid because here's the thing.
There's people stupid enough to think that the coronavirus
came
had
from
to do with the
beer.
Corona beer.
Yeah.
what do you expect? Maybe those people think that Chinese people have this virus.
I'm to this point real quick where I believe if President Trump will keep repeating he loves Mexican food, or he doesn't like Mexican food, that saying that it's Mexican food and I was racist. It's to that point now. It's to that point.
Oh God! Hopefully not. Let's move on from that.
That's what I'm saying. Though I'm saying you can't make stupid.
Yeah, there's gonna be people out there who are just gonna be ignorant.
Yeah.
And like you said, you can't fix stupid, and you can't fix stupid.
Yeah.
You can fix ignorance. You can teach someone and they learn, but you can't fix stupid. So in terms of the whole xenophobic and racial slur,
No, it's not.
he's not directing to the Chinese people. He's
That's
directing
all.
that it comes from China, and China is responsible for this.
pretty much.
And we just gave out the outline. China is responsible for this.
There's
we
no-
are where we are now because China didn't communicate what was going on, right? So that's why we're in lockdown right now. We're in lockdown because you know what? We don't know what's going on. Like, dude, we barely have minimal information of this virus. Now that we have enough information, we don't know how much it can spread and how fast it can spread and who has it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So the next question I guess we have to answer for our viewers is, before we go to the United States, how did the surrounding countries,
Surrounded by, what do you mean?
China's surrounding countries,
So bordering.
let's do South Korea because
Okay,
I think
correct. That's the biggest one.
That's the biggest one.
They want to, yeah.
Before we come to the United States, how does South Korea deal with this?
So South Korea dealt with this because it has quickly, because it's a neighboring country for one to China. They have experience certain pandemics before, like SARS, MERS, right? They have experience with that. So given that they know they have a lot of trade with China and reports barely started coming out of China, as soon as those reports were starting to come out, minimal or not, they took precautionary steps. Okay? They took precautionary steps and they said, okay, you know what? Let's start testing people. What province do we have these people coming in from China? Okay, that province. 14.
Wait. That wasn't considered racist?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
So,
Sorry.
they were saying that we're going to put them in quarantine, 14 days incubation period. We're going to have testing ready, all that. Let's do it. Let's go.
So they pretty much closed. They pretty much did a travel ban.
They did a travel ban. They did a travel ban. They focused on the areas where travelers could have entered from, and those centers, it was like ground
Where a
zeros.
high rate of Chinese visitors go
they
to
were tested.
South Korea.
Yes, they were tested. Yes,
So South Korea pretty much said, okay, it's coming from China.
right.
Because I don't think Korea knew what was going on, right? I think the little report they had.
No, we had
right?
the minimal information, but they've dealt with China for so long, and they've had previous incidents that were caused by China. They said, let's take the precautionary steps.
Okay. So you're saying like, we know China. Okay, yeah, pretty much like China ain't gonna say nothing until it's too late.
It's too late, and
So
we're
we're
not
just
buying
not-
into that. Yeah, it's pretty much that.
Let's pretty much do it now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Get ahead of the game.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting, because South Korea pretty much.
It's literally right next door.
Yeah, literally it is.
It's literally, so here's China, and this is China, and there's South Korea. It's right there. It's just the middle of it, and the sea is just separating them.
So the thing is that now that South Korea was able to narrow down the areas of their country where there's high density of Chinese
Right.
people, where they can travel back and forth, and they started testing people to see if you have SARS-like symptoms, which is the only information we have so far, right? And we have a roadmap already about this. We know what to look for. We're gonna quarantine you. You're gonna go into self-quarantine, or you go back to your country,
Right.
right? Why is that not considered racist?
What do you mean?
How is that not racist by the South Korean government to single out Chinese travelers?
Well, they were singling out anybody that came from China. So it could have been South Korean residents, South Korean citizens, excuse me. But they just said anybody that just came from China, all right, or anybody that has traveled to China, come back from China, or just recently arrived from China, you all need to be tested because we need to take precautions. It's nothing racist. It's just that it was the way South Korea wanted to implement those policies. You know, I don't see.
I think maybe more clear is that I think that would be considered racist if the United States would have applied that.
Okay, I see where you're going. So
if the United States would have said, you know what?
So if President Trump said, I need to test anybody that just came in from China, that includes Chinese citizens and all that, anybody that looks Asian, then the xenophobia argument comes in. Is that where you're heading to? Okay.
So how is South Korea's targeting those specific places?
They don't have Trump at the helm.
They don't. That answers our question. Anyway, let's move on to the next one.
Trump at the helm.
Let's talk about.
I'm being that serious.
Because literally, South Korea said these are where the Chinese travelers come from. This is where our citizens coming forth from China go to. Let's hit those places first.
Yeah.
Right. If that would happen in the United States, that would be considered racism.
When it started happening real quick in the United States, what does Trump say? We're putting a ban on Chinese travel, and nobody can come in from China. Oh, that's xenophobic. My point exactly. Trump is not at the helm. Because any action that this president takes, good or bad, is going to be questioned. And mostly the good ones. It's questioned. Even though you have all the experts.
I understand that too. So if these news media outlets are so concerned about racism, wouldn't they easily be able to call this out racist?
Say it one more time?
Couldn't they easily call this out as racist?
With the South Koreans, they could have, but they're not going to. They're not going to. In fact, they're praising the South Koreans for what they've done.
Okay, so they're praising South Koreans for targeting travel from China. And Chinese residents
and the ability to
and South Koreans coming
and the
from
drive-through
China.
tests. That was amazing.
They're praising him for that.
Praising them for that.
But Trump does a travel ban.
Xenophobic.
Gosh.
Okay.
And that's where we go into politics then.
Right.
That's the discussion we had earlier about the politics, because now the politics, and I call it the politics of political correctness.
Yes.
The politics of political correctness is so overhyped that any rational action, regardless of race, regardless of anything, that just a logical, rational action, right, could be marred as racist or xenophobic, right, or hate crime, or whatever, right? Because political correctness has dominated so much that any mention of a person's
origin,
not only origin, but minority status, whether it be through race, social class, or sexual orientation, or gender identity, is wrong.
Right.
I know it's wrong. And I think that's what led to a lot of the problems we have now.
It did.
Right? So we already talked about China containing it. South Korea.
No, China didn't contain it.
No, China
hit it.
Hit it. China
black-bagged it.
Hit it. He tried to say, shut up, go back.
Get out of here.
Put him in the closet.
Right.
South Korea hears news and they're like, you know what? Let's take precaution because we know how China is. China's going to screw us over. So let's get ahead of the game. Okay? And they get ahead of the game. And they do good. And they've reacted. And our media here is praising South Korea.
Right.
Without telling people out there how they did it. They're like, you know what? We're hearing stuff coming out from China. Let's target travel from Target. Let's test people. Let's quarantine them. Let's get them out there. We don't know what this virus is either, but we have an idea of how to deal with something like this, right? Because of past experiences, like you said. Now we're going into the politics. The World Health Organization, moving on to the politics, heard some reports, and we all saw it in social media, and I'm repeating myself. We saw some videos on social media, some things, what's going on in China, whatever, you know. But it's in China. It's not going to come here.
Right.
Who cares? Who finds out and asks, hey, China, what's going on? Well, let us know what's going on. What are we looking at? China says, nada.
Well, he said,
nada pasa.
There's a situation, but don't be alarmed.
Yeah, nada pasa. Nada pasa. It's under control.
Yeah.
It's under control. Don't worry about it. And who goes back and says,
they have it under control.
Okay, we'll take the word for it.
Yeah.
Why did they take their word for it? Why did they take their word at face value?
So, if you read, there was an article, actually two articles. Yeah. There's two articles, actually. One by Foreign Policy and one by the Washington Post. Basically, they said that the World Health Organization did not want to alienate China. Okay, and also they don't want to basically put the WHO. We're just gonna say WHO for World Health Organization. Also had a credibility issue worldwide. It'd be just due to their partnership with China. And so basically said they didn't want to press China, right? It's a major partner. Okay, in order to ensure they promote transparency, they figure that if they push too hard, they won't get that. They won't get that cooperation. So to say in the name of cooperation, we won't press more than what you've given us.
Wow, that's not convenient.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what it was. So in the name of obtaining your cooperation, we'll take what your information is at face value. I'm like, why?
Yeah, because if it was in another country,
right.
Who would have been questioning? Would have been demanding some answers. Would have been like, hey, give us some answers.
Right.
Because every other government is pretty much a democracy or some form of democracy, and China is communist.
Right.
So if they want you to know the information or not, if they don't want you to know the information, they're not going to give it to you.
Right.
They can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
They answer to nobody.
Yeah.
They are God.
Yeah, they're the party.
The party is God.
The party is God, yeah.
You know? The Communist Party is God. Right? So like you said, and that's sad. Because that goes back to the whole political correctness idea. Right? That, we don't want to ruffle the feathers.
Because we want your cooperation. So that was bad. The WHO, so that's why I said it should be held accountable. They needed. Yeah, it's bad.
It did not push for more information to investigate it.
Yeah.
It did not press China, hey, what's going on? What are we looking at? What is this? How bad is this? Is this transferable? Is this not transferable, right? And nothing.
Nothing.
And that's the sad part. That's just like terrible. So South Korea, now we're going from Wuhan, China, we went to South Korea. Now we're going across the seas.
To the United States.
To the United States, right?
We're home.
And the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so by the time China comes public with this in January 23rd, right, it says, you know what, we're going to lock down Wuhan, and there's an epidemic.
Right.
Deal with it. Sorry. We'll figure it out. We'll get back to you later. Estimates show that about approximately 5 million people traveled back and forth Wuhan during this time frame. Okay, so a lot of people could have been affected, could not have affected. Maybe people got the symptoms and recovered from it, right? And that's why it's all over the world. The first country that got hit the hardest was Italy, right? Italy got hit the hardest, right? And it was the epicenter in Europe of the virus. Now everyone here in the United States is saying we should do the same thing as Italy, which is a national lockdown or a national stay-at-home order, right? So the whole country needs to be in lockdown. President Trump right now is pushing back on that. He's saying it's not necessary. It's an option if things get worse, but it's not necessary at this time, okay? So we kind of jumped to the United States now because we're going to go to just to give you guys an idea of how big this thing is, right? So January 23rd, when did President Trump do...
January 31st.
January 31st,
The
travel ban.
Yeah.
Travel ban China. China doesn't come in. What's the reaction by the media by that?
Xenophobic.
I think it was part of the debate, no?
Biden, xenophobia.
Biden says it was xenophobic, it's racist against Chinese people, and Trump is always racist. Trying to close the border, he's racist. He doesn't want foreigners.
And Sanders, I don't think this is a great idea. We're targeting the wrong people. The Chinese people are not to blame. And he's right. Sanders is right. The Chinese people are not to blame. What you have to blame, Senator Sanders, is the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah.
That's what you blame.
But the thing is that the infection's already out.
And you have 7 weeks of blackout. Of course, I'm not going to say that because I want Medicare for all.
Oh, right now, Biden is loving it, right? I mean, Sanders loving his whole check and stuff
Let's go, man.
But anyways, now Italy gets hit the hardest. Why did Italy get hit the hardest? That's the.
It's funny because who was that director? The director for the
European virology director.
The European virology director. Let's get his name real quick. Dr. Giorgio Palu. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Palu. So Giorgio Palu said, "It's simple. We knew a lot of people were coming from Wuhan. We knew a lot of people were coming from China, but Italy lacked the political will to enact the necessary precautions because we didn't want to alienate China." Does that sound familiar? Or like Jaime does. That's the problem.
So you're telling me that the European director of virology
Yes.
said that we could have stopped this,
Right.
but we didn't do it because practically we're going to be called racist for doing it?
Yep. Because we're targeting Chinese. And China is an ally. A trade ally. A major trade ally.
I'm laughing because I'm like, that's not racist.
It's not.
It's just saying, hey, this is kind of... It's just pretty much saying, hold on, let's test you, right? I think the doctor said that we wanted to do examinations before they entered the country.
That sound familiar?
You know? And,
Sound like who? South Korea. Like,
but that goes back to political correctness.
yes.
Their fear was the political correctness was that they were going to be viewed as xenophobic and racist.
Right.
Now, maybe, and by their own Italian media,
Right.
and probably from the European Union.
Yeah. Because it's open borders. We allow everybody in. Let's travel through. And luckily, how many of those countries shut down? That's the Germans.
I mean, and to quote him real quick, it says, the turbulent lagged at first. It was lazy in the beginning. Too much politics in Italy. There was a proposal to isolate people coming from the epicenter, coming from China. Then it became seen as racist, but they were people coming from the outbreak. This led to the current devastating situation. So pretty much, it's kind of negligence, right?
It is negligence.
It's negligence by its own Italian government saying that, well, we know it's coming from the epicenter, but we're not going to stop them.
It's negligence because the Italian government and they didn't have the political will to take the necessary precautions. They knew it. They have strong connections with China, so they knew. I'm not saying they knew what was going on in Wuhan, but they knew there were a lot of Chinese
Something's
people.
going on.
No, I can't say that, but they know there was a lot of people coming from China to Italy, and given the time frame, right, they should have taken those precautions, and they didn't. Right? Once the reports started coming out, screw the 7 weeks, right? Once the reports started coming out, even though it was too late, but you knew, and you didn't take the necessary actions because of that.
So when did I'm looking here for when Italy became a lockdown. When did it actually lock down? And
I want to say it was like 2 weeks ago too.
March 10th.
Yeah,
from what I'm reading here.
Yeah, sounds about right.
CNBC.
It was like 2 weeks ago.
They had 9,000 confirmed cases, right? Which is, and then I think, let me just get the date. Yeah, March 10th.
Yeah, so it was like 2 weeks ago.
March 10th. So not only did they respond late, they let it come in.
Yeah.
They're like, we know this is coming from. So by March 10th, that means that from January 23rd to March 10th,
That's one.
we already knew the virus is out there because China came out public. Government knows, okay, we have a virus going on. It's infection. It's a respiratory disease, and they still didn't do anything because they're like, it's racist.
Yeah.
Political correctness, people. Political correctness.
Oh man.
All right, now let's go. Now that happened in China. That happened in Italy. Now let's go to the United States.
Right.
Italy, sorry.
Right.
Italy. Italy's in lockdown. Italy right now is
Right.
terrible. They're recovering. Thank God they're recovering. 99% of the cases in Italy of deaths were elderly people
75 and over with
75
pre-existing conditions.
with pre-existing conditions, and that's what it is. And now, at this moment, we realize and we understand that you have a pre-existing condition, whether it be sickness, diabetes, heart failure, lung failure, even allergies. It could be your survival rate is diminished. We're not gonna say you're gonna die, but it's diminished, and you have to take care of yourself. United States. First case comes in Washington. Okay.
Okay.
And then I remember a couple of weeks ago, in February, mid-February, we heard about a plane that
Came from
from Wuhan. It was diplomats, right? U.S. diplomats.
U.S.
American
diplomats
citizens.
diverted from Alaska, diverted from Ontario Airport here, and it landed right close to us, right here in March Air Force Base.
Yeah, which is literally a mile from my house.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we heard. We were like, shh, 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 shh. I don't have the coronavirus, thank God. If I did, I probably had it. I got it. By this time, 5 million people left and came and go. Okay? So Washington gets it first, and then New York, and then California, and so on and so forth. Speed up the timeline. California is the first state to declare
a stay-at-home order.
stay-at-home order. Okay? Washington declares a state of emergency. The first state declares state of emergency
yeah.
because they had a lot of cases. They're the first state that got hit. Okay. California is the first state to stay at home order, and we reported it last week. Right, we're on 1 week into the order. Now, we're a stay at home order for two reasons. One is that we discussed is
China.
the media.
The media.
Right? Overhyping, over-exaggerating the dangers. And two, the government reaction to what they can do to control this epidemic. Right? So, I'll just talk about the media, right? When the media first found out about the virus, they started talking about, oh, it's a virus, and it's dangerous, and it's deadly, and it's going to kill us.
Which it is.
It is. And they're not wrong about that. They're not wrong about that. But to the point that before a lockdown was ordered, before a state of emergency was ordered, people were already taking the toilet paper. People were already taking wipes.
Right.
People were already hoarding milk. People were hoarding water. People were hoarding supplies, necessary supplies, before the state of emergency came out, before stay-at-home order came out. So before this, the media started scaring people about this virus. Right, a virus is coming. This virus, we don't know what's gonna happen, and we're not saying they're lying, but they hyped it up. That hype up now because there's no government response caused the government to do what they did now, right? So now we're at closed stay-at-home order. Many of you guys are probably, us included, are at home. Because we're sent home because we're not an essential business. A lot of family members got sent home. Maybe your family in your home. You, your parents, if you live with your parents, if you live with your spouse. If you're not essential, you're at home. Okay? Restaurant workers, cooks, a lot of people are at home right now. Right? No job, no money. We're trying to figure out what's going to happen with the stimulus package, which we'll talk about later. Did we... I'm just saying, the media hyped it up because right now the media is scaring us that we don't have enough beds. The media is scaring us that we don't have enough ventilators. Pretty much saying that if you get sick today, you're dead.
Right.
Pretty much, in simple terms, right? I think the media takes responsibility in the fear, right? And they should take responsibility in causing the fear that 24/7 we hear about how easily you can die, how easily you can catch the virus, how easily you can do this, which is not necessarily false, but they make it seem so bad that you're scared to walk outside your own home. You know? And there's a group of people who are willing to go outside home for essentials, right? And there's a group of people who just don't want to leave because they're now scared. They think that literally if you walk out the door, you got coronavirus and you're going to die within 14 days. Right? 24/7 reports. We get it. We understand. But they're reporting in a negative fashion, which is the job of the media. Right? And they're reporting that we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have this, we don't have this, we don't have this. Pretty much telling people, we're going to die.
Yeah.
We're going to die. We're dead. Give your last rites. Kiss your family goodbye. You're not going to live through this. In other words.
Pretty much.
Right? That's how the media responded to this. Instead of the media saying, okay, we're working on getting the ventilators. They're working on getting the beds. This is what's going on. Please stay home to make sure that the virus doesn't spread. Right? Of course, it's hard to control people to stay home. People got to work, right? People got to do their business. People got to go to school and stuff. It's kind of hard. But the media hyped it up so much as to that you pretty much have coronavirus right now. You don't even know. You have coronavirus. You're with your family right now having coronavirus, infecting everybody. And that's it. You're just like, what? Like, I'm scared. Like, this guy might have coronavirus. I don't even know about it.
I just got coronas.
So the hype, I think the media has to take responsibility for the hype. I understand they're trying to communicate, but it's so chaotic and so scary that it's just caused the panic,
Right.
the empty shelves, the empty supplies, the shortage of supplies,
Right.
where there's no this, there's no that,
Right.
you can't find nowhere because people panic and they panic buy, and that's just nature. Now, explain to us the government response.
So the government, I believe, and they're going based on what Dr. Fauci said, right? Dr. Fauci said the government has responded the best way it can. Okay, and I'm speaking federal government. Okay, The federal government, we understand there's a shortness of ventilators. We understand there's a shortness of masks. We understand that. That's why we're seeking public-private partnerships to get the ventilators, to get the masks in a timely manner. But what the media has done also, which you point out clearly, and this is also when you have people like Governor Cuomo who say like, well, what am I doing for 400 ventilators? I mean, fuel says 400 ventilators. What am I doing for 400 ventilators?
Gosh, that's so selfish.
I have 35,000 cases. What am I doing for 400 ventilators? Think like worst case scenario, you go on the top, and if you're not that bad, you're not sick, well, you're not gonna get any ventilators. So I mean, what am I supposed to ration them and like or take turns? Like, what am I gonna do? And we get all that. And that adds to the media hype. Like, look, the federal government doesn't even have that mask. President Trump goes up there every day, just gives us numbers, doesn't give us how he's going to solve the issue, blah, blah, blah. So panic. We get it. That's not the problem. The problem when you had it with the government is that it came at it from a reactionary standpoint, not a proactive standpoint. What the media does so beautifully is like, did you see how South Korea handled that? See how Italy handled that? What did we just say? Why does South Korea had capability? Because South Korea has dealt with the Chinese. South Korea has had the experience. South Korea took the precautionary measures because of what? Experience in their homeland. Okay? There were two articles from the Independent and the Atlantic that point the same thing. The one from the Independent, we'll post these articles real quick. They'll one from the Korean point of view, right? And they look at the American response, and that's what they said. Americans, we've had. I just don't think you have that experience. It might be a cultural thing, but we had the experience with something like SARS, MERS, and all that, and a lot of experience with China. That's probably what allowed the success in Korea. You could also say there was maybe we had enough people and so forth. That could have been a success story as well. But I just think it was more the experience. The Atlantic. The United States has not faced a situation like this since World War II, when you had a real threat to the homeland, or a perceived real major threat in the homeland as it is by the media. Mm-hmm. So when you have the panic, when you add all this in the media, when you see all this, and the government's like, we're trying to get to it, but it takes time. Look, we just made aware in January 31st. We issued the travel ban, and we thought that by doing that, it would have reduced the number of cases. We did not know, however, that for 7 weeks, the Chinese had a blackout situation. You know what I'm saying?
For 7 weeks, this virus leaked.
And then we had people coming in and out. So, and what did Dr. Fauci, said at the beginning? That most of the cases in the United States were due to travel. They were not in the homeland. And unfortunately, it came here after the travel ban.
Yeah, because the United States has a lot of travel.
Yeah,
the United States it has a lot of layovers here in the United States.
Exactly.
International.
Exactly. Yeah. But it comes to the point that you can continue all you want, but by the time you issue the travel ban, it's already a month in. Mm-hmm. So you had all these layovers. So people take 14 days to show symptoms. Sometimes you don't have it now. And you just pass it on to people with weaker immune systems. And those people show the symptoms, and they spread it. So by the time the travel ban and you started the stages of quarantine and all this, it's already late. Mm-hmm. But basically, so I agree with Dr. Fauci. I agree with the assessments that you could only do what you could only have done is to react to the situation that presented itself, because you couldn't quarantine on time. You couldn't take those measures that South Korea took, because South Korea was proactive because of their experience with the Chinese.
Yeah, because they realized South Korea knows that Chinese are going to screw you over.
And the rhetoric should be...
And hey, Chinese not saying anything. We know that something's going to come
Exactly. So...
We can't trust them.
And the way that the United States have dealt with epidemics before, it's at a foreign... In a foreign sense. Like, okay, it's over there. We're gonna try to help them over there. We're going to try to stop people from coming over here. But you have the point of origin. And those countries are not authoritative enough to handle a wide media blackout. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm trying to get to. There was more transparency, right? So with all that, you could just it only allowed the United States government to act reactive from a reaction standpoint. That's all you can do.
And the media keeps saying that we don't have this, we don't have that.
And of course you don't. We get it.
But I think the media is misplaying it. That
exactly.
We have those things ready.
We have it.
The hospitals don't expect millions of people to be sick at the same time.
Yeah.
They don't expect that.
Yeah.
We don't. Like Kumo said, we pretty much know how many people get sick
Right.
within the population. We use those
Right.
numbers,
Right.
statistics, right?
Right.
The thing is that we don't have it, and we're working on doing it.
Yeah.
So the Trump says, okay, we need the ventilators and enlist private industries who are able to refabricate.
Generate.
Ford,
GE.
GE decides, you know what, we're going to help produce these because there's only like 14 producers of ventilators, okay? By the time it comes out, done, testing, all that stuff, it takes a couple of days. Like 3 weeks, I think they said, tops,
sure, yeah.
right? And the media is saying, we don't have it, we don't have it, we don't have it, we don't have it, we don't have it.
Trump is not giving us
Instead of
answers,
the media should be saying, we don't have it, but we're working on it. Giving people hope.
Well, and also,
And they're not giving people hope.
And
They're giving
also
people
stop
fear.
comparing the responses. You gotta understand that, yeah, you could compare, and it's great what South Korea has done. It's great, but they're not talking about the experience. You understand that they were proactive because they know what China is like. They're next door.
They know China's gonna be like last minute. You know what?
You could have two things. The United States did not expect a threat to reach the homeland. Right, so they were like, "Nah, it's in China, and we stopped the fights. It's over." And two, right? So what did it say? The homeland, and then once it gets here, you did not have a roadmap as to how to really contain it. The roadmap in South Korea worked because it was proactive. How does your roadmap work when you react from a reactive standpoint?
When you're
reacting to the situation,
right?
You're in the end game because now you're already in the game. You don't have time to prepare. So what can you do?
Mm-hmm. Nothing.
The
only thing you can do is try to see what you can do and figure out what we need.
As fast as you can.
And I think that's what the cowardice of Governor Cuomo.
Yeah.
I think that's why I believe that Governor Cuomo is a coward. He's a coward because he's mad at the federal government for not having the supplies on time. For me, it's kind of selfish. It's like, dude, the government is working to get it out.
Yeah.
We can send you 400 ventilators right now. Give us time as we're trying to get more out. We have to get California. And we understand that New York is now the epicenter.
Yeah, it is.
Okay? Governor Cuomo had the chance to get ventilators back in 2015. Okay? Report says.
The report says, yeah.
He didn't get more ventilators, right? He's like, we don't need it. We'll just use our resources for other things, okay? Yeah. He was governor at the time. He should take responsibility. You know what? In 2015, I could get more ventilators. I didn't because of this, and that. And you know what? We didn't expect this, and that's something I can learn from the future. Right? To meet that quota. And they think the quota was like 160,000 ventilators.
Like 64,000, something like that. Yeah.
Or 64,000, something like that.
Yeah.
And then now he's mad at the Trump administration because he's only getting 400 ventilators, like saying as if Trump has a whole stockpile of ventilators and just decided to give them a measly 400. There's no stockpile of ventilators. If Trump would have had 100,000 ventilators and told them, here's 400, then I would agree with Cuomo.
And exactly.
But Trump says, I barely got 400 for you right now. I still got to pass some out to California, Texas, Illinois, the most populous states in the union first, right? Right now, this is what I can get you. Give me time as Ford, GE, and all these companies start producing these ventilators to get them to you. And that's why I think Cuomo is a coward.
Yeah.
Because he is being selfish. He's being, and he's being selfish, inconsiderate, and demanding something that, it's like saying, I want the Tesla vehicle now. I want the Tesla truck right now, and you get mad at Tesla. It's like, Tesla's gonna be like, what the hell, dude? We're not even done building the truck, and you're demanding the truck. Like, take it easy, you know? The same thing here, okay? And in my words, Cuomo is a coward.
Yeah,
Governor Cuomo is a coward.
Yeah, so
it's not in defense of Trump. By his own logic, he's a coward.
Yeah.
Okay, by his own logic, he's a coward. All right, he doesn't have enough ventilators. We get it.
Right.
We all know there's not enough ventilators in the country. We all know that. We're aware of that. The media says it every day. Cuomo, you're being selfish by saying, "Oh, what am I going to do with 400 ventilators?" Right. Okay. And right now the country is working on it. Private businesses literally offered to help without using the government power to force them to work. What's the name of the act?
It's the Defense Production Act.
Defense Production.
He said Trump's like, yeah, it's in power, it's in play, but I don't need it because people are willing to help us out.
Yeah, he didn't have to enforce that law because people.
He's not Truman.
Yeah, he's not Truman. Look up Truman, 1950, South Korea, the Korean War.
So in the end, so when we act, look, can we say we could have been better prepared? Could we say we could have better deployments? Yes. But in this case, you have to understand that there was no context. There was no
information sharing.
No, it's not even information sharing. Yeah, you're right. That was one of them. But I just don't think it was viewed as a necessity to be over prepared. because the history of the United States since World War, since like what they
So
put out.
getting the virus out.
Getting the
right?
virus out. We have dealt. Okay, let's put it this way. We have dealt with virus threats so many times at a foreign level that we thought that it's not going to come to the homeland.
It's not gonna come to the United States. And
so,
if it does, it's gonna be so little.
And if it's so little, and also if the precautions that we take, that should have been enough. Mm-hmm. And the problem with that is that you had a 7-week blackout that you did not account for.
The 7-week blackout pretty much put us behind.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, right. That's pretty much it.
So that's pretty much our summary of the context of the coronavirus, right? The preparedness of South Korea, because they already dealt. It's like if you have a family member or that friend who is always gonna flake on you. You already know, like, okay, I'm gonna buy this guy. Yeah. He always flexes on me, and you expect it. Yeah. Right. So when he flexes out on you or she flexes out on you, like, I knew it. So that's how South Korea's relationship with China is. China, there's something going on in China. They're not gonna tell us until it's too late.
Major trade partner, but
so let's deal with it now.
Yeah.
Right. Pretty much. And the other response is that the United States did not expect something to hit this hard in the United States because, like you said, we deal it.
We always do it. We deal it foreignly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you have any questions, concerns, please comment below. If we missed something here, please let us know. Remember, we just point a context of what happened. How did we get here at this point? So in terms of the rate that people are infected in the United States, we're just quick before we go. If you guys go to our Instagram page, you'll see the numbers. We're on day 65 of the epidemic.
Pandemic?
The pandemic. I forget. Right now, it's probably more higher than that. Right now, at this time, we're at 68,000 people. Hold on, let me make sure I get the right information right now, live. Right? United States. Okay, now we're at 83,500 confirmed cases, 1,200 deaths, right? 1,800 people have recovered so far. Okay? So, what that means is that it's still a low number in terms of our entire population. Worldwide, it's 529,000 people, 23,000 deaths. It's still a low number compared to the entire world population. What we're looking at is that the likelihood of dying from the coronavirus is less than 2%. That means you have a 98% rate of surviving, of recovering. And that's the hope we're giving you. We're not saying to disregard.
No.
We're not saying to disregard social distancing.
Go outside,
we're not saying hug each other and do whatever and get in groups outside. We're not saying that.
Right.
But the hope we're trying to communicate is that you have a better chance of surviving the virus than dying from it.
Yeah.
Just take the precautions. Wash your hands. Social distancing.
Cloro.
Just take care of yourself. As we go through it,
right.
And you're most likely to survive it.
Right.
Contrary to what the media is saying that you're probably gonna die in a couple of days, we will survive. Okay. And with that, anything else you want to add, Eddie?
No, just you pretty much said it all. Stay safe out there. Follow the the cleanliness guides or whatever they call
the health precautions,
and all that.
Health and safety.
Stay safe and please. Any questions, guys? Please. We're not doctors. But if you have a hard time understanding any of our points, please comment below. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. But yeah, it's view it from a contextual standpoint. Numbers are great, stats are great, but to really understand the issue, go back to the origin and go from there. Okay, and with that, I'm Eddie Marmolejo.
I'm Jaime Moreno.
It's MM Talk, and remember,
we're tired of it too.
Government, let me tell y'all motherfuckers something. I don't know what the fuck this coronavirus is about. I don't understand how that shit was from Wuhan, China. Now all of a sudden this shit is on motherfucking tour. And let me tell y'all something. I ain't gonna front. A bitch is scared. I'm a little scared, you know what I'm saying? Like, shit got me panicking. And a lot of you motherfuckers think it's a joke, like I was thinking, right? But that shit right there, just because you think you're immune to it, guess what? Your pocket ain't, bitch, because a lot of shit comes from motherfucking China, bitch. So if you wonder where your motherfucking weave or your fashion over motherfucking packages have arrived, guess what, bitch? Coronavirus!